We got a look at Resident Evil Requiem, hands-on preview with gameplay from IGN, and then they also spoke to one of the developers about it at Gamescom as well, and I want to look at both. As I predicted when I saw this behind closed doors back at Summer Games Fest, I thought the odds were pretty high that we were going to see what we saw revealed at Gamescom for the public, and that is what has happened. So everything we're about to look at is what was also shown back in the summer, and they have actually now let people play it themselves, it seems, and then they've also given a deeper look and done some developer interviews and stuff. We're going to look at both of it, but this is the same thing that you heard people talking about back in the summer. Yummy.
Since 2017's Resident Evil 7, a regular staple of Capcom's horror series has been the inclusion of an enemy that stalks you. Jack Baker burst through a wall and into our hearts, the world fell in love with Mr. X, and Lady Dimitrescu provoked her own kind of online adoration.
Keep it together, guys. Keep it together. Maturity. Don't. Okay. Okay, Shref. Oh, okay. Okay.
Resident Evil Requiem appears to be keeping up this tradition, with its own take on the hulking, relentless pursuer. And so far, from my small 20-minute sample at Gamescom 2025, it feels like Capcom has created a new, lumbering foe that more than lives up to the mantle of a Resident Evil stalker. The short demo takes place at the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Centre and stars our latest protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, who creeps through the dimly lit and suitably spooky setting, armed only with a lighter and glass bottles. While I expect that combat will be a part of the full game, there were no firearms to be seen in this demo, so there's an inherent emphasis on caution while creeping around the clinic's handful of rooms and single long connecting hallway. And if you think that sounds like an incredibly small location to explore, well, you're right. My sample of Requiem lacked any real kind of exploration and was largely a task of collecting item A to open item B, which allowed you to get item C and so forth.
Yeah, when we saw this gameplay demo, they kind of, like, they cut around a lot of it. So if it was like, walk down this hallway, grab this thing, walk back, they would show walking down the hallway and then they'd cut out this part where you return. So it was a little streamlined. So I don't think it was as spooky and immersive as it would be if you were actually playing it. But yeah, it was like, go find a screwdriver to open the box, and then you have to get a fuse to replace the fuse in there, because this fuse you need to take somewhere else. And, you know, typical kind of A, then B, then C, then D, then E type of gameplay. But I think this is also the opening section. Like, this is probably the first
all
30
sounds
minutes.
simple enough, right? Well, in classic survival horror fashion, your uneasy confidence is quickly jump scared out of existence upon the arrival of the as yet unnamed stalker enemy. After Grace discovers a lifeless zombie, or infected in her words, a hulking claw lurches into frame to manhandle the corpse.
I'm sorry, I would never touch that. Am I a germaphobe? Is that germophobic? If I see that on the ground, I'm not touching its bloody, slimy hair and moving its head. Like, I'll go grab a stick and do that. Or like, it sounds bad, my shoe. But like, I'm not touching that. I'm not risking anything. I don't want any of his juice on that. Who's touching it? She just did. She just did. I don't want to mess with that.
The camera lifts just as the creature plunges its teeth into the zombie's skull, both demonstrating the beast's sheer mass and how it has little consideration for the iconic fodder of the series. This new stalker is Lady D tall, with the frame of Resident Evil's Lisa Trevor and the vice-like jaw of a Wendigo. She has bulbous eyes, claws for hands, and a Quasimodo-like posture. Once unleashed, this stalker, like its recent relatives, is persistent, promptly reacting to the sounds, sights, and smells of Grace. And like her xenomorph stalker cousin from Alien Isolation, this monstrosity can, and will, travel above you through the ceiling space, dropping down as quickly as it can scarper up. Basically, she's relentless and can easily outmaneuver you. Fortunately, there are a few tools in Grace's arsenal that can help you survive though. The first being the aforementioned glass bottle. As you might expect, they're primarily used as a distraction tool, drawing the stalker's attention to the other end of the hallway and buying you time to slip past. It can also, in theory, be used as a weapon, although I'm not sure I'd recommend it. As with most stalking enemies, you can't kill or even damage Grace's pursuer. Perhaps Grace's most valuable weapon though, as you might have gathered by now, is sneaking. While crouching, you are afforded some moments of mercy, as you take advantage of whatever small pockets of space you can find, be that under tables or behind corners. It's a useful skill, particularly in the nurse's station room, when drawing the attention of the beast is inevitable due to a scripted sequence. It does, however, only buy you a moment to slip by, and even when you reach a safer spot, flicking open your lighter to illuminate the darkness will draw the stalker's attention back to you. Creep as much as you wish, but your pursuer is always hot on your heels, no matter how carefully you tread.
Giga Chad Luke doesn't use stealth though. In Elden Ring! I feel like that's fair. People be like, oh yeah, in Elden Ring I stealth through the forest. I'm like, who are you? Who are you? Like, I can't even fathom it.
Interestingly, this new enemy type does have an Achilles heel though, light, or more specifically, the bright white light of a room's ceiling lamp. The tiny flame from the lighter in Grace's hand didn't appear to make any difference. When chasing Grace into a well-lit room, the monster's skin visibly burns, causing her to scream and then retreat. Not only does this put some of the power back into your hands, but it's also a nice interpretation of the rules of Resident Evil's safe rooms. If you've ever seen Mr. X's bizarre backpedaling when confronted with a safe room, you'll know this change is a welcome one, adding some well overdue logic to the classic gameplay trope that magically blocks a stalker from entering your safe haven.
If only this door were just a tad bigger.
While there was neither much space nor opportunity to explore, thanks to the small environment and constant presence of a terrifying stalker, what little exploring I did do felt, perhaps to no surprise, very familiar. Like Resident Evil 7, Village, and the series in general, you're managing inventory slots, examining items, finding strange keys to unlock strange doors, and fitting fuses into circuit breakers. It's all very traditional, and fans of the series will feel completely at home. The first-person perspective of the more recent mainline games also remains, and at the suggestion of both the developer and myself, it's the optimal way to play a horror sequence like this one. However, following in line with the upgrade Capcom provided Resident Evil Village, you can also play Resident Evil Requiem from the classic third-person perspective. Your choice of camera can be changed on the fly in the menu anytime you wish, allowing you to freely switch and create a different kind of atmosphere. It's an interesting choice for a non-remake Resident Evil game, and certainly doesn't feel like an afterthought, even though it may cynically appear to be at first.
I mean, my recommendation would be first person. It seems like that's how they're primarily pitching the game and selling it as first person. And let's be real, horror games are about being spooked. It's about being spoopy, being scared. And so it feels weird to play a horror game in a way that is not spoopy. It's like, you know, when somebody tries to play a horror game and they turn off all the audio. It's like, no, you gotta turn the audio up, turn the lights in your room off. Like that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I understand some people like they're purists. They like the third person perspective, but I think it's scarier from first person.
In a way that
I will say, the one thing I've noticed is that the voice actress, there's so much more like small little tidbits of noise, whether it's like little bits of gasping when she sees the monster walk in the room, like after stealthing away from it, or when you're trying to pivot quickly, you'll hear a different kind of grunt. Like, really pay attention to the voice actress and all of the variations of little audio bits that they're playing. It's really, really well done. There's just a lot more effort put into it than a lot of games where like there's the same whenever you bump into anything, or like whenever you get hurt. It's like with this, there's way more variability.
That perhaps only a AAA budget game can, both viewpoints are extremely well designed, with moments tailored for each experience to maximize the player's fear. In first person, the stalker looms larger and feels significantly more imposing. with the restricted field of vision allowing for scripted scares to have more impact. During the demo, you're forced to make some noise by moving a cart across the room to create a step to reach your next item of importance. With the more focused first-person viewpoint, mid-action you're treated to a giant, claw-shaped signifier of the beast's impending arrival scraping past the window. It's a panic-inducing moment, and one that loses its power when your hyper-specific point of view is opened up wide by a third-person camera.
I think it still works. That's still spooky. That's still spooky, you know. So I'm thinking for the 5. I'm playing this on my 65-inch LG OLED with volume all the way up. Hopefully no PTSD after. You might. Dude, when I first tried gaming on like a 3D sound system with like speakers behind me, that'll change your world, dude. That will change your world. Because you'll actually hear the zombie over your shoulder. Like, it's horrifying. The sound, dude, that's what can really take it to the next level.
It's clear though that Capcom is aware of this and has made effort to maintain its scares despite your viewing preference. And in that short gameplay slice, that ethos was perfectly demonstrated. In first person, just after the stalker's introduction, you simply turn around to smoothly run down a hallway as fast as you can, leaving the stalker in your wake. And it's only the sounds of her shambling that follow that remind you that you're actually in danger. In third person, however, perspective-specific animations have great stumble and fall, building up the tension to make up for the reduced level of threat produced by the wider, vision-granting perspective.
Okay, so I didn't know they're doing that. That changes things. So they even have like specific animations to make it scarier in third person, like her falling down to the ground and shuffling and things like that. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not just like phoning it in. They're actually like adding extra touches to keep it scary. That's awesome.
It's a lovely touch.
Now I stand corrected. Now I'm thinking maybe third person's the way to go.
And something I'm hoping to see a ton more of in the full game. Hopefully providing ample amounts of horror.
Because this feels way more accurate to what would actually be happening. Like, look at her frantically trying to get through.
I'm hoping to see a ton more of in the full game. Hopefully providing ample amounts of horror.
Like, that's way better than what so many like games that are in first person can feel like, where it's like, oh no, a monster. Click. Like, this is way better. This is way better. Like, I'm a fan of this.
Hey! My short playtime was such a small sample size of Resident Evil Requiem that it's very hard at this early stage to know whether 9th entry in the mainline series will fit in comparison to its predecessors. And that's assuming that this scenario in the demo will even feature in the full game at all. There's a distinct possibility of this just being a bespoke demo, something that Capcom has prior experience in with Resident Evil 7's beginning hour. But even if this is just a tonal example, it's very hard to not be excited for what horrors Resident Evil Requiem has in store for us when this unstoppable beast arrives in 2026. And if you like that video and you want to learn more about Resident Evil Requiem, why not check out the entire history of Raccoon City?
What I'm interested in as well is that they've not really talked about the broader game. We've seen that little, sliver a couple times. Like I said, at Summer Games Fest, we saw it. And then also here, you're seeing it publicly now too, which is awesome. But this game will apparently have like a pretty expansive scope as well. Like it's supposed to be a really big game. It's not just going to be like tight corridors and hallways. There's going to be a lot of big open spaces as well. Now, in this same vein, Resident Evil Requiem takes stalkers to the next terrifying level. This is a dev interview at Gamescom talking about what they're doing here.
We're here at Gamescom 2025. More specifically, we're in front of a dilapidated RPD station, which can only mean one thing. We're talking about Resident Evil Requiem. Myself and Matt here, we've managed to play a small dose of...
Maybe it's not developer interviews. Maybe they already interviewed the developers and now they're talking about it. Either way, we're going to find out more.
Just a very small, like 15 to 20 minute section of it. Matt, what did you think?
So this demo was...
It's my mistake. I saw two guys standing with microphones. I thought one of them was going to be the reporter. One of them's a journalist. My bad. My bad.
Entirely about one thing, and that was getting away from a brand new stalker enemy. We've had the likes of Jack Baker, we've had the likes of Lady Dimitrescu. Now we've got, well, I don't even really know what she's called, but she is this horrendous... Imagine if Gollum had been injected with Bane's serum and turned into a huge, hulking creature that can...
That's actually a really good way of describing it. Gollum injected with Bane's serum. That's actually pretty accurate. I'll give him that.
Decapitate with its own teeth. That is what we had to run away from in this small section of a hospital.
Yeah, it's a very, and you say small section, it's a very small section. It's like one long hallway and then a couple of rooms. Not really much room to outrun like a lumbering stalker. Like she can barely fit in the space as well. Like she's hunchback. She's like squeezing through these environments, and you can hear her shambling the entire time. But it felt like a little bit of a fresh take on a stalker to me. Like, do you agree?
Yeah, I think whereas kind of like, for example, Lady Dimitrescu, I guess the most recent one that we've had, the way that she followed you around kind of like the castle in Resident Evil Village was fairly standard, like she ran behind you, whereas this, I think there's almost a little bit more of something like Alien Isolation in there. The stalker is able to kind of go up into the roof space.
Dude, I saw the fingers around the corner, like right as he
like
rounded
Alien
the corner.
Isolation in there.
Watch.
The stalker...
Right there. I saw that. I was like, oh, hell no. But he kept walking. Dude, the lighting in this game is, I think, what's going to take it to the next level. I really think that's what's going to elevate it.
Is able to kind of go up into the roof space and crawl across and cut you off in areas. It also has kind of the elements that Jack Baker had where she can burst through doors, which creates new routes that you can loop around. But yeah, it does feel like genuinely like this is a step up. This is the next way of making the Mr. X kind of theory even more sort of like terrifying, even more inventive in the way that it forces you to think about the space.
I mean, interestingly, you mentioned about bursting through the door there, but we both played the game and we both saw like different versions of that. So for me, it was very much a Jack Baker. I came out and burst through, but for you, you decided to take different routes, and that didn't necessarily happen organically like it did for me.
Yeah, I think basically there are definitely trigger points, I think, for the stalker to be able to do certain things. But if you don't pass that trigger point and you move around the environment in a different way, then suddenly things aren't happening, which doesn't unlock routes for you. So like you say, if you walk down that corridor and she bursts through the door, suddenly you've created a loop between a room and a corridor. Well, I moved a different way and that route didn't exist for me, which meant that ultimately I actually got trapped by the stalker and had to find a different way out because I was really up against the wall. I'd not got that door to escape through.
Yeah.
And so I think kind of like seeing how that stalker, particularly presuming we get her in a larger environment than we did in this demo, I think there will be like lots of interesting kind of challenges for you to face because of the way it works with the environment.
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of my favorite touches of the new Stalker, though, what we've seen, is that she reacts to light, like light burns her skin. And
well, so I guess that's just a point of clarity. It's like, so the stalker, certain routes open up if you hit certain triggers, but if you don't hit the trigger, of course, that route doesn't open up. And so if you trigger the stalker somewhere else, you don't have that path opened up to maybe progress. So I'm not sure if they're saying that like he got trapped somewhere and had to reset and then he could progress once he opened that pathway with the trigger, or if it was just the level was designed in a way where there were multiple pathways for him to take even if he didn't set off certain triggers. I guess I'm not super clear, but
I think they've really used this in a clever way to abolish one of the stranger things about a stalker in previous games. So if you might have seen memes of Mr. X trying to come into your safe room and peeking his head in, but then all of a sudden decides, oh no, I can't go in that room. Well, now they've found like a law, like an actual logic reason. If she comes into your room with a bright like room light, her skin will burn and she'll retreat. And it's just those little touches that make it feel like potentially this could be a stalker of the ages.
Yeah, definitely. But the other thing is whereas this demo didn't have like a classic safe room, right? It had rooms with the big lights on that you knew would be safe. but sometimes it'll pull a trick on you where you go into that room and the light smashed out, and suddenly it's like the place that you thought was safe, the place where you thought, I'll get like 2 or 3 seconds to just get away from this creature, rethink what my plan is, suddenly that room is no longer safe. And I think that, like, playing with your expectations, a lot like Resi has done all the way through its history, particularly with the remakes, is use your expectations and then pull the carpet from under you. I think it does that very well.
Yeah, so interestingly, the rest of the demo, there was a lot of things that felt very familiar. There was a lot of collecting keys for doors. There was all sorts of that stuff. But one thing that was quite unique, well, at least for a release Resident Evil, is that you could play this in either first or third person. You can just go into the menu and switch it any time you wish. Which way did you prefer?
So I
do think speedrunners are going to have a ton of fun with this. I think you're right. I also can see, like, maybe there's strats and stuff where you quickly swap perspectives. So I wonder if the triggers are probably passed with, like, the physical body of the character instead of the camera. But there's all sorts of interesting things I bet you could do. Yeah, I wonder what they prefer in terms of first or third, since they actually played it.
I'm actually a real big fan of, like, Resi's pivot into first person. That's, I found, really increased the fear aspects, and so I played the demo all the way through in first person, and that definitely really worked for me because it really narrows kind of like your vision, and that creates very bespoke kind of like created scares. There's a moment where you go into a room and you're trying to push a cart around and bits are falling off the cart, and as you do that, because of the way your frame of vision is like honed, you see like the shadow of this creature walking past the window. And when I replay the demo with kind of like in third person and play through that section again, I didn't quite get the same scare because the way that the angle is opened up and really where Grace is in the frame covered that up.
Yeah.
However, you do get benefits for playing in third person. Dale, I know that you played a lot more of the demo in third person than me, and you were talking about the bespoke animations that has.
Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, I prefer first person for these as well. However, I really wanted to see what it was like in third person, and when we were looking back and comparing what we did, we noticed that the third person like has very bespoke animations. Very specifically, when you're in first person, you're running away, it's just you're beelining down a corridor. But when you're in third person, Grace sometimes will trip and stumble and fall. And I feel like that was a really clever way of adding some horror elements, making you a bit scared. I think there's something, when the threat is so looming.
Well, it's such a nice change because so many of those games that have third-person horror elements, like I said, it's just like a light walk down the hallway. Even though there's a monster behind you, there's like no hustle in the step, but this is actually like really, really helps.
In first person, it feels way more intimidating. So third person inherently can feel a little less scary. However, I think tripping and falling is an excellent example of how they've really thought about how do we make it scary in third person as well. And it's a little touch I really appreciate.
I think the other thing that was really cool is the fact that it's not just that third person is kind of an option, like it was when they added it into Resident Evil Village. It kind of felt like it was there as a concession. Now it's definitely woven in those two viewpoints. And so there are cutscenes where the camera will go into the back of Grace's head and do things in first person, but there are also cutscenes that are bespokely made to be in third person. It feels
They just learned what the word bespoke means. Yeah.
like it's a really coherent package this time around.
Absolutely, and I hope we get to see tons more of that in the final game when it comes out in 2026. But for everything else, all Capcom games are Resident Evil. Let's keep watching at Gamescom 2025.
I think that one's gonna be good. I think that one's gonna be good. I'm here for it. I think it looks fire. I think it looks swell. I think it looks Gucci, and I'm here for it. Oh baby. Oh baby.